We left off the Divide et Impera episode with Pyrrhus about to head to Sicily. Now it is time to finish his story. Pyrrhus of Epirus, despite beating Rome twice, knew he could go no further, and so went to Sicily instead, after answering a call from Syracuse about a Carthaginian attack. Pyrrhus defeats the Carthaginians and conquers the entire island, and becomes king of Sicily, excluding Lilybaeum. Pyrrhus was accused of appearing like a despot, and so was advised to leave, which he did. Interestingly, Pyrrhus states that the island would become a fair wrestling ring for Rome and Carthage, which happened to be true in two senses. Firstly, the Greeks would later be pushed aside, and it would be just Rome and Carthage vying for control. Secondly, it states it would be fair, meaning the war would take many years without any clear winner. This, the First Punic War, certainly was, at least until the end. Just found that interesting. Pyrrhus returned to Italy to find a massive Roman army heading his way. They fought at the Battle of Beneventum in 275 BC. The Romans won, and Pyrrhus was forced to cede all his Italian territory to the Romans. Whilst all this had been happening, the succession of Macedon was still hotly contested. Antigonus was acknowledged as king after defeating the Celts. After returning to Epirus, however, Pyrrhus plans to upset his rule and invades with an army. Antigonus eventually loses, and Pyrrhus becomes king of Macedon. Meanwhile, Rome, no longer having to worry about Pyrrhus in the south, finishes their conquest of the Samnites. As for Pyrrhus, Antigonus was able to reclaim Macedon's capital, Pella, and that is where the campaign begins. Now, historically, a royal Spartan would ask Pyrrhus to attack Sparta and to place him in power instead. Pyrrhus agrees, as having a puppet on Sparta would only help to extend his own power. Another reason being the majority of the Spartan army was away fighting in Crete. Pyrrhus loses the siege of Sparta and eventually dies in Argos. He is succeeded in 272 BC by his son Alexander II, but the game starts earlier in the year, so those events are yet to be decided. The campaign portrays the situation here very accurately. A Rome that now controls southern Italy, a Pyrrhus who controls part of Macedon as king, but lost its capital. In-game, there's many options open for him. To attack Rome again, although I doubt that would have been plausible historically, it is possible in-game for gameplay reasons. To attack Macedon and take back their capital, or to go the historical route and for Sparta. Although this here is far from the focus of the campaign, Rome 2, unlike Divide et Impera, focuses more on the Rome side of things. The Pyrrhic Wars were a series of important events that shaped the world by the start date, and allowed Rome to be in a position to make her move. That is why I covered it most in this series, because this is not important in the game, yet had a major backstory that we see in Divide et Impera. Any player not familiar with the history could easily overlook the massive events that had just recently unfolded, that allowed the situation to get where it was, and that is what this series tries to cover. One impact of Pyrrhus was as follows. Before, Carthage and Rome had decent relations, working together to defeat Pyrrhus, yet Pyrrhus defeated Carthage and Rome defeated Pyrrhus. Firstly, this opened Roman eyes up to the possibility of someday bringing down Carthage. Secondly, the defeat of Pyrrhus removed the common enemy they had between them, leaving Sicily now open to whoever could claim it. 11 years later, after Pyrrhus's defeat, the First Punic War would erupt. There was other history going on also. The First Scythian War, for example, ignites Egypt versus the Seleucids. The Seleucid Empire is defeated by 272 BC, resulting in a large land transfer. This is portrayed in-game along with their broken relations, which just goes to show how this year, 272 BC, is the perfect start date, as it sees the conclusion of two major events, and the world is in a standstill, waiting for the player to make their move. Etrusca had been warring with Rome for some time. By the start date, little gains had been made since Divide et Impera. However, Vanilla Rome 2 adds Arretium to Etrusca. This, I believe, is for gameplay purposes. The game starts off with Rome able to destroy Etrusca, being the perfect baby's first settlement for Rome. The faction most new players will try first, and so it made sense to make them weaker and easy to break than history would tell. That is everything. That is the historical backstory to Rome 2 Total War. A series that tries to give an explanation as to why part of the campaign is how it is, looking into both history and gameplay. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learnt something. If you did, please share with anyone else you think will also. And please do subscribe to get notified of the next title I am to cover. No idea what it will be yet though. I've been MELKOR, and until the next one, goodbye.